Hi, my name is Pete Swiderski. Today we're going to start by talking about reeds, mouthpieces, and ligatures. Mouthpiece, ligature, reed. Now since reeds are made out of cane or wood, they need to be thoroughly soaked first in your mouth. A thorough soaking will usually take 2 to 3 minutes. Also be sure to soak the back part of the reed like this. Now, if the front of your reed looks wavy, the tip of it looks like a wave, then you need to soak it longer until the wave disappears. If the reed isn't thoroughly soaked from the front to the back, what happens is the vibrations don't get through as quickly, and then the reed doesn't play as well. Once you have a reed thoroughly soaked in your mouth, you take your mouthpiece and you lick the table of the mouthpiece. Then you place the reed on to the table of the mouthpiece. And when you do this and a reed is thoroughly soaked, you'll find that it forms a bond where the reed won't just drop right off. And this is an important part of the playing, that there's this nice bond. Now the correct position of the reed is lined up perfectly tip to tip. Tip of the reed to the tip of the mouthpiece. You'll notice that a mouthpiece has a taper on it, which means it goes from thin to thick. Your ligature has a taper on it also, where it goes from thin to thick. The thick end goes on first. Now, if the ligature won't slide up far enough, usually this means the reed or the screws on the ligature need to be loosened. As you loosen the screws, the ligature will drop down farther. So this is how I put my reed on. First, I put the reed on, lick it, stick it on, then position it close. Then slide the ligature on about this far. You can see on the mouthpiece how far it goes down. Now, once you've got that on there, then you can position the reed accurately. The way I do that is with my thumb. I can push it up or down with my thumb. I'd be holding it the other way though, and then I can go sideways with my fingers to make sure it's perfect. I never touch the tip of the reed with my finger. If I do that, then I can expect that tip is going to break. So never touch the tip of the reed with your finger. I slide it back and forth till it's in perfect position. Once it's in perfect position, then I tighten down the screws on the ligature. Now the screws on the ligature will always be on the right hand side for nearly every ligature. There are a few where the screw will actually be on the bottom, but for most ligatures the screws are on the right hand side when it's facing you. Some ligatures have the screws on the right but on the top, but you'll notice again that they're still on the right. I tighten down the ligature tight enough so that the reed will not move around. I don't want to tighten it so tight that the reed starts to crackle, or you could break the reed, or you could also crack the mouthpiece if a ligature is too tight. Now the size of reed that you use depends a lot on the tip opening of your mouthpiece, which is right here, the tip opening. For most people, 2.5 to 3 is going to work on most average mouthpieces. If your tip opening is quite wide, in other words, this cut comes up higher, then usually the reed size will be softer. If the tip opening is not as high, then usually a reed size will be harder. Now let's talk about the embouchure. Embouchure is the way you put your mouth on your mouthpiece. The saxophone embouchure is easy. It's a nice relaxed embouchure. The first step is to say the word oh. Oh. I form nice round lips. Oh. Second step, take your bottom lip, put it over your bottom teeth, just slightly. Still maintaining the sound of oh. Oh. Third step, take the mouthpiece, put it in your mouth about 1/2 inch. If you notice on a mouthpiece, there's the point where the reed and the mouthpiece meet together, about right here. Put your teeth on that point or just slightly before that point. Just like this. Notice the round O and the bottom lip over the bottom teeth. Your top teeth go directly on the top of the mouthpiece. And then the whole embouchure collapses in like this, kind of like one of those drawstring purses that you can grab and pull, and then the whole thing collapses in. That's the exact same thing that happens with this. Now the angle of the mouthpiece to your face is 90 degrees. This is important for a successful sound. Once it's in there, about a half an inch, bottom teeth covered by the bottom lip, top teeth directly on the top, then you pull it together firm enough so that it won't move around in your mouth. Then you blow a nice warm stream of air. Now you'll notice that if I firm up the embouchure, I can make it go higher or lower. It's got quite a range on it. So where is the exact place to put it? Usually on the alto mouthpiece, it's at a concert A. Right around concert A is an excellent place to blow your mouthpiece pitch. On the tenor, baritone, and soprano sax, it has different mouthpiece pitches, and you can find those in the book. For this next part, we're going to talk about assembling the saxophone. Now, to assemble it, there are three main parts: the body of the saxophone, the neck, and of course the mouthpiece, which we just looked at. To put the neck into the saxophone, and usually you do this in a seated position so you don't drop it, the first thing I always do is loosen this screw. If this screw is not loose, then you could force things in, there could be problems. Loosen the screw, then take the neck, place it in the receiver, and twist it gently into place. If it doesn't twist gently into place, usually it means that the screw is not loose, or it means that it needs some lubrication on it. You could take a little bit of cork grease and put it around this edge, and then gently slide it in. After it's gently into place, you want to position it so that it lines up straight with the saxophone. If the neck isn't lined up straight, it can cause the octave key to prop open easier than it should be. After it's lined up, tighten the screw down tight enough so that the neck is not twisting around while you're playing. When you're putting a neck in, be very careful that you don't put downward pressure on it, because these necks can bend. Once a neck bends, it'll never sound the same again. The next step is the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece should go on with a gentle twisting motion. Once again, always going in and not down and in, as to avoid bending that neck. If it doesn't go in easily, you could take some cork grease, put it on, and then it will slide in easier. Remember to twist it on and not pull down. Now let's talk about holding the saxophone properly. The neck strap should do the bulk of the work when it comes to holding. It goes into the eye hook, and then with straight posture, you want to take the saxophone and see how close it comes to your mouth. Notice on mine it's going into my chin. So what I'm going to do is raise the neck strap up until the mouthpiece comes into my mouth. So the entire weight of the horn should be held by the neck strap. If you're trying to hold it with your finger, your technique is going to slow down. Now for hand position. We'll start with the right hand. I like to number my fingers as 1, 2, 3, pinky, and thumb. The correct finger position, 1, 2, and 3 cover the 3 pearls. 1, 2, 3. The pinky covers these 2 bottom, and the thumb goes into the thumb hook. The inside of your hand will take care of these 3 keys when we get to those. Your third finger, your ring finger, will take care of this key. Some saxophones have an F sharp. Also here, that will also be taken care of by this third finger. Now your left hand, we'll call them 1, 2, 3, pinky, thumb again. On this time, we're going to start at the bottom here. We'll call this 3, 2, and there's a small key here which we skip, and 1. So 1 has a key above it, a key below it, and then it's surrounded by these 2 keys. 3, 2, skip, 1. Your thumb comes around to operate the octave key. It rests here, then operates the octave key. Your pinky of your left hand takes care of these 3 keys, or 4 keys. And the inside of your fingers and palm will take care of these keys, called the palm keys. And together, we take care of all of the different keys on the saxophone. Now, when breathing for any wind instrument, it's very important that you take a full, deep breath. When I breathe, I always think about filling up my lungs all the way to the bottom and then expanding out my abdomen. If you're breathing and your shoulders are coming up, you're taking a shallow breath. You can see that the stomach will come out when you're properly filling up with a full breath or full lungs full of air. This is important to getting a full satisfactory sound on any wind instrument. Full breath. Now while you're playing, you take your full breath through the corners of your mouth. So I could take a full breath here, opening my mouth, but if I needed to take a quick one, take it through the corners. If you try to breathe through your nose, you'll usually just end up with a clogged nose and stuffy head. Through the corners, or through the open mouth. Next, let's talk a second about tonguing. Tonguing is the way that we start all of our notes, unless otherwise specified with a slur. The mechanism for tonguing is taking the tip of your tongue and touching it to the tip of the reed for the shortest amount of time possible. Now, when you blow air over a reed, it starts to vibrate very quickly back and forth. When you touch your tongue to it, it interrupts the vibrations. I'll play a long note and then I'll touch it with my tongue. If I touch it lightly, it barely interrupts it. If I touch it more aggressively, it completely stops it from vibrating. So the trick to tonguing is tip of the tongue, tip of the reed, shortest amount of time possible. There are two main syllables that we use for tonguing. Tongues that begin with T, for example, tu, 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 or ta, 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 ta. If you do that with air only, it sounds like this. The air continues to flow, but the tongue interrupts. On the saxophone, if I do tongues that begin with D, I get a more mellow sounding tongue. Do, 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 or da, 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 da. And then the T tongue with the tip of the tongue to the tip of the reed. There are incorrect ways to tongue which really don't even involve the tongue. It's something that I call huffing. Huffing is where you just start and stop the air just normally, like this. It kind of sounds like tonguing. And some beginning students will do that, mistaking that they are actually tonguing. Listen to the difference of the huffing and tonguing. The tonguing is going to be much more accurate, and it'll be much faster in the long run. Now let's take a second to talk about maintenance for the instruments. When you're blowing air into your saxophone, it's warm air. It comes from inside you, and this warm air is also moist air. You could do this by fogging up a piece of glass, fogging up glasses. I could see that there's moisture in the air that I'm breathing. Now, when this moisture starts to collect on the inside of a cooler piece of metal like your saxophone, it starts to make the pads on the saxophone become crusty and hard. So we want to wipe out that moisture that gets inside of the saxophone. The best way to do that is with a cleaning cloth. Now, the first step I do when cleaning my saxophone is I remove the pieces, the mouthpiece, loosen the screw, take the neck off, and then the body. Now I remove the reed from the mouthpiece, being careful not to break the tip. When I've got it removed, then I'll wipe it on my pants, When I wipe it, I always wipe it this direction. If I wipe it the other direction, I run the risk of ruining the tip of my reed. Once I have the reed dried off, then I'll put it inside of a reed guard, which looks like this. A reed guard is just a flat, safe place to store your reeds, and they slide right in there. You can easily store them for next time. They're even numbered so you can decide which reed you're going to use. The next step is cleaning the insides. For that, I like to use a cleaning cloth with a very large silk cloth on it and a string. Now on this string, there's a little weight that helps it get down through. You just place the weight in and then just gently pull through, cleaning out the moisture. Usually 1 or 2 runs will do that. You can also clean off the top of your mouthpiece with warm water, maybe a little bit of soap, and maybe a very, very gentle brush like a toothbrush if it starts to get really gross inside. But if you maintain it regularly, it should be just fine. Then I put my ligature back on, and I'll put a cap on the ligature and then store it safely in my case. Next, I run the cleaner through the neck. Always go through the biggest end first, out the smallest end, like this. Gently pull through a couple of times, cleans it right up. For the body of the saxophone, same thing. Run it through the big end first. This way the cloth doesn't bunch up at first. If you run it through the small end first, the cloth will bunch and then you go through. So I tuck it all in, carefully turn it upside down, pull out the cloth, and do this several times until the inside of your saxophone is nice and dry. The last step for cleaning your saxophone is to polish it. If you're interested in having it be always nice and shiny, take a polishing cloth and just run it over the body of the instrument until you remove the fingerprints. The outside of the instrument is not near as important as the inside and the maintenance of the pads.